Council meeting to order. First up, we have the roll call. Betty Ann.
Mr. Buckle? Present. Mrs. Eady? Present. Mr. Eagleson? Present. Mr. Ingles? Present. Ms. Jackson? Present. Mr. McKeever? Mr. Smith? Present. Warden Tulin?
Present. At this time, I'd ask anybody to declare pecuniary interest, either now if it rises down the agenda. Hearing none, confirmation of council minutes.
Moved by Mr. Ingles, second by Mr. Buckle, that the minutes of the July 7th, 2016 council session be adopted as circulated.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Communications, Betty Ann?
Communications have been included in the agenda, and there are no further communications.
Thank you. Delegations. First up, we have James Sconiak from Bruce Power. Welcome, James.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today. And as usual, since it's the summer, I thought I would celebrate the summer with a video. So I'll get to that in a few minutes. So have a number of exciting items to update folks on today, both from an operational point of view on the site. As you know, we announced a new CEO. I'd like to talk a little bit about that and spend a few minutes also talking about a joint economic development initiative that we've been working on since the new year. So we'll try to cover a bit of ground today, if that's okay. So moving to the first slide. Must be a solar-powered clicker here, not a nuclear-powered one. In terms of an operational update, as of today, we have 8 units fully 100% online. We had a very busy investment and outage program for the first half of the year. And as of this morning, we're actually producing 35% of Ontario's electricity. We have 2 planned outages left for this year. We have 1 planned outage on Unit 4, which is actually going to start tomorrow at midnight, and another planned outage in Unit 7 this September. So it's been a very, very busy period for outages on the site. On average, since January, we've had about an additional 1,500 extra people working on the site to support that program. So obviously, between what many are reporting as a busy tourist season combined with these temporary workers, a lot of the communities have been incredibly busy with a large volume of people. Of course, moving to our safety performance, while all this work has been underway, we've been able to maintain a lot of focus on safety. And, you know, I'm sure you'll all appreciate this given the work that you do in infrastructure as well, but a lot of the times when you're carrying out outage work or you're doing work on the plant, you're bringing in a lot of temporary workers to do that work, and they tend to come through hiring halls and whatnot. So it's really important for us as we're doing this work, as we have a lot of transient folks coming on site and a lot of new people on site, that we're maintaining that kind of health and safety focus. It's a little easier to maintain that health and safety focus with your core workforce because they're there with you day in and day out over a longer period of time, and that culture gets embedded. But this is going to continue to be a real focus of ours, especially as we start gearing up for refurbishments and we have a lot of new folks coming to site and transient workers doing work on site. You may have also seen in the media a number of weeks ago, we signed our first commercial agreement related to the refurbishment project. It was a contract in excess of $100 million, and it was for the procurement and the manufacturing of steam generators for Unit 6. So we were pleased to do an announcement on that in Cambridge. BWXT, formerly known as B&W, it's a real Canadian success story. You can go in that factory and I mean, that facility's been in place for 70, 80 years. They manufactured the first steam generators for our plants, manufactured steam generators for all over North America. And it's one of those kind of few manufacturing facilities that you see in the world today, actually in Ontario today, that is still a successful manufacturing operation with all the changes in the economy. And obviously this was very good news for BWXT. And as we proceed with the refurbishments, there's the opportunity for them to multiply that work times kind of 4 or 5. So they're very pleased with that. One of the items I didn't include on this slide, but I thought I would give people not so much an update on, but a bit of a clarification on before I get to the economic development pieces. You may have seen in the media we held a suppliers summit a couple of weeks ago, and I just thought it'd be helpful to kind of clarify what that was and what that wasn't. Typically, we've carried out an informational session for all of our current Bruce Power suppliers every year. We typically did it in Collingwood, and we actually doubled it as a fundraising activity for the United Way and Wounded Warriors. And that's really a forum essentially where we bring all of our suppliers in. We talk about a lot of sort of in the weeds items that we interact with them on, whether it's quality assurance, whether it's contracting standards, things that they can expect in terms of their interaction with Bruce Power. And also that also provides us an opportunity to bring new suppliers to the table, because it's very important for us to maintain competitiveness as we're doing work. And so what we decided to do this year was instead of doing a big fundraiser with it, we found other fundraising activities to support those charities, and we thought it would be much more efficient and lean to kind of just have a meeting with everybody over a few hours in a day. We wanted to initially do it on site, but of course, as you know, security is difficult on site, so we thought we would give the new Marriott in Kincardine a try. The only reason why I share that with you is because what I'm going to talk about in a little bit is about our economic development initiative, and I didn't want anybody to think that this was somehow inconsistent with what we're doing there. This was really an internal Bruce Power sort of meeting, but because it was being held at a new facility in Kincardine and we were bringing new suppliers, we felt it was important to kind of get that message out. So I'll move to the next, actually maybe I'll just jump ahead to CNSC ratings and then we can go on to the new CEO item. So I do firstly want to thank the warden and the CAO. As you know, we on an annual basis we have a series of ratings that come from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, and really what this is because we have longer licenses to operate our facilities, the regulator has an annual review check-in. So even though we have a 5-year license, they like to do a yearly check-in just so the public and people get confidence that there's sort of ongoing monitoring. So we received back in June our CNSC annual ratings. There's a public hearing in August, actually August 18th, which many of us will be participating in. And the good news is that it continues to show ongoing improvement in the Bruce site. It's our strongest report card yet. The media is going to start to accuse me of running the same press release every year because the headline every year for the last 3 years has said this is our strongest report card yet. Well, this is, again, our strongest report card yet. And I think that's a good message, which you want continuous improvement. You don't want ratings slipping back. You want them moving forward. So the big change from 2014 to 2015, because these always look a year in the rear view mirror, is the Bruce A performance has moved to fully satisfactory. And you've also seen continued strength in upgrading with our waste management program. So overall, both Bruce A and B are fully satisfactory. And the good news for all the plants in Ontario is both Pickering and Darlington also receive fully satisfactory. So we're seeing year in and year out improvement of the ratings, and I do appreciate the warden making a submission to this, a written submission to the CNSC process on this, because it's very important. Although these tend to be very kind of technical matrix, the thing the commission also like to hear about is what is the community thinking about the relationship with the operator, and I do appreciate, and I know the company appreciates that letter. I want to show you a little bit of a video, and I know this may seem like a bit of a strange thing to sort of do at a county council meeting, but our new CEO, Mike Renchek, he's not starting till August 15th. And sometimes when you show people a bio of somebody, they're like, wait, what is this guy really like? So what we decided to do is I kind of stole this idea from Walmart when they introduced a new CEO about 3 years ago. We thought we would do sort of a video introduction of the CEO so people could get, I'm hoping over a period of time he'll get to meet with all of you individually and collectively, but the idea with our workforce in the community was to give people a bit of a feeling of, who is this person, what makes them tick. Obviously people had become very comfortable with Duncan over a long period of time, and so managing this transition was very important to us. So before I play the video, I do want to hand out a letter. I'm not sure, maybe I can start again here. And it's a letter from Mike to the warden and members of county council today. Obviously, he's not starting until August 15th, otherwise he would have been here, but it's really just, thank you for the welcome and an introduction, and that he looks forward to, as I said, meeting with everybody. So as opposed to me explaining Mike's bio, why don't I play the 3 or 4 minute video and give you a bit of a sense on who our new CEO is. And the county is the only place I go to do presentations where the videos work every time. I shouldn't have said that, maybe. If you run into a problem, we can always email it to people.
I grew up in a little town outside of Pittsburgh called Slodan, S-L-O-D-A-N, but if you say that, no one knows where you're from. So I just say Pittsburgh, and people go, oh, it's the general area. A small coal mining town. When I grew up in the 70s, the steel industry was everything in the Pittsburgh area. There were steel mills on every corner. There were good jobs, middle-class jobs, and people were comfortable. And that all came to a very abrupt end in 1981 and 82 when the steel industry, literally in the area, the entire industry closed in a matter of years. What was once a plethora of steel mills was reduced to maybe one or two in the area. It was just devastating. But I had a summer job at Beaver Valley Power Station my junior year at college. And, it turned out to be a very good experience for me. Well, I went back to school at the time, Benson Texas Instruments was bubbling, and that's when, the computer industry was starting to get off, and as a young man, that had all the attractions and excitement that one would see. But in the same time frame, my father, steel mill, came under hard times, and at that point, he had asked me to come back home so I could help out at the house. So it led me back to Beaver Valley Power Station, and I started in the nuclear area with AEP Generation when the plants were shut down due to regulatory issues, and I helped with the refurbishment and the restoration of those plants, bringing them back into service. After 10 years, after a decade with AEP, I decided to join AREVA to look after all of our large projects. And large projects have some kind of a personality and life of their own, but there is one thing that is an absolute. It gets back to working safely and in collaboration, really working as partners with all parties, including contractors. The trades and the unions have an important role to play in the life of Bruce Power in helping it not only for the asset's sake, but also for the community's sake going forward. When the asset goes away, I've seen what that looks like. I've seen what that looks like in Pittsburgh when the steel industry went away, and I've seen what that looks like at Crystal River when it closed. It's just devastating for the community. You have to be one team, you have to have a common goal, you have to be working for the same outcome throughout the entire project. The safety is something that's so inherent that you can't take it for granted. It can't be something that's recognized for past achievement, because it's not about past achievement, it's about the next instance or the next step that you're going to take. Having folks come to work in the morning with the expectation that they'll be safe and go home at the end of the day, that's what we have to be all about. The opportunity to work with the folks in Bruce Power and also to live in the community, I think those two things I find very appealing. My wife and I visited the area. We both looked at the area. It's very charming. It felt very comfortable for us. It was something that both her and I wanted to do. It wasn't so much seeking a job, but it was seeking the next part of our careers, and in terms of basically how I want to finish my career and doing something that I enjoy and I love, which is nuclear power, but also helping nuclear power survive and grow and be prosperous. Ontario is a great place. Right? It's a wonderful area, a wonderful part of the world. And from a nuclear perspective, I think Bruce Power recognized globally for the sheer scale and size of the facility. It's the largest operating facility in the world. And with the refurbishments and how Ontario has made a centerpiece of nuclear for its energy plan, I think it's an obligation now that the employees of Bruce and Ontario Gas to make truly Bruce the marquee operating plant in the world, as well as its stellar performance of nuclear projects. And I think it really has an opportunity to show that nuclear can be done, it can be done well, it can be done safely, and it can be done for the future in a manner that's cost-effective. When you look at nuclear, those areas of North America that had invested in nuclear early on, you see very stable electric rates in those areas, and they've been that way for a long time. I think Ontario's long-term planning and their appreciation for nuclear and their confidence in Bruce to be able to to set up a deal structure like that speaks volumes. And that's why, again, complacency, we have to be on guard for that. Each and every step of the way, there's a lot of money that's being invested. People are investing a lot of their careers in this. So each and every step of the way, we have to do it well. We have to do it right. We have to be safe. We have to be on time, on budget. I think that when you're working to do something like that, it's more than a job. It means it's very meaningful and personal. In my mind, I think the folks at Bruce Power are doing a good job. I've seen continuous improvement there, and just want to keep that going.
So I think that gives you a bit of an overview on who Mike is. I can tell you personally, I've had the opportunity over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks of working with him before he starts on August 15th, and I can tell you a lot of the things that we often talk about in these meetings, the role in the community, a lot of the things I think we've come to expect with the relationship are a priority to him, and in fact, they were some of the first things he asked about. So, I think you're going to like working with him, and I do appreciate the opportunity to introduce him through that video. One last thing I do want to talk about, or two last things I do want to talk about, because I know I'm probably you guys have a busy agenda today. The next is maybe I'll just go back to the slides here. Later this month, as you know, AMO is holding their annual meeting. I believe it's in Windsor this year. We are planning a very active presence at AMO. We're a sponsor of the conference. And we have a lot of sort of new materials that we plan to distribute. Obviously AMO is a tremendously valuable forum for municipal officials from across the province to advance a number of issues with the province and others. And it's important to us that we continue to advance with the province, whoever we're meeting with, the importance of the refurbishment agenda and continue to provide that sort of positive reinforcement. And just to wrap up the conversation for today, one of the items, and many members of County Council were at our session actually last December following the announcement of our deal, where we provided a briefing of the deal, and one of the outcomes from that conversation was about how can we look at a more coordinated approach to economic development as it relates to the Bruce Power investment. Obviously, as a county, the economic portfolio for Bruce is a broad one. It has a lot of important elements, whether it's agriculture, whether it's tourism, small business enhancement, but obviously the Bruce Power component is a piece of that with our $13 billion sort of program before us. So one of the outcomes of some of these discussions earlier on in the year was, how can we put the focus behind that to make sure we're fully leveraging everything we want to achieve. And I know, Council's been briefed on the joint position that was created, but really the purpose of what we wanted to do today was sort of more effectively launch the effort. We have the full-time role in place, Stellina Williams, who's with us here today. Stellina has a very strong economic development background. She worked as the executive assistant to the Minister or Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade, was involved previously with various ministers on the public service side. And to my shock, when we started looking for this position, lives in Kincardine and was working in my group in corporate affairs and community relations. And I should have known we had somebody with an economic development background. So I sometimes get credit for people thinking I have a master plan, but sometimes things just kind of work out the way that we did. So when we were looking for somebody, we thought this was a really good fit because, number one, Stellina has experience working with Bruce Power. She has experience working with the economic development in the province. But more importantly, based on the interaction that I know Kelly and I have had with her during this process, one of the things that's going to be very important with this position, I think, is that it interacts well with your existing economic development infrastructure in the county, right? What we are doing here needs to be not in place of, but complementary to some of these other areas while still maintaining that focus. So we're absolutely delighted that Stellina's on board. We had our first steering committee meeting this morning. We will be launching an advisory committee. There's a lot of interest. I think I've got dozens and dozens of emails from BIAs and all sorts of groups from throughout the county and the region. We want to be as inclusive as possible, and so we do plan to establish an advisory committee so we can kind of make sure that information is flowing. And later today, you'll see an invitation go out for an economic development summit that we want to hold in Kincardine on September 14th. And the idea is that will really be a bit of a launch of, what does this strategy look like? One of the things I can just tell you personally that's really important to me, and I know Kelly shares this view as well, is that we're doing something new here, so there's always going to be some administrivia that we need to sort out. How do things interact with existing activities? But I think what's really important for all of us who have kind of stepped up to put this focus in place is that we do have some short-term success that's very tangible. That we're able to point to, how have these efforts really provided an incremental economic benefit to the area. And I do know that now is a time that our suppliers are going to start to think about what does their presence look like long-term at Bruce. And so the idea is that this position's a bit of a one-stop shop. So, when you're talking to a large supplier who's going to work for Bruce, as much as we look at municipal lines, they don't, right? They sort of make a decision that they're going to regionally locate. And so it's really just about making sure we find that right fit. Right, and we shouldn't assume that the benefit is just going to be immediately around the site. There's a lot of other considerations, whether it's maybe even some opportunities more on the peninsula, some of the areas more to the south of the county where they can service other projects they have going on. But I think this is going to be a real opportunity to look at this in a bit of a different way and provide our companies who want to do work a bit of a point of contact to sort of say, what are you looking for, and how can we kind of put the package together? Because a lot of times these companies almost get intimidated when they have 5 or 6, smaller initiatives or community-driven items approaching them. They don't really know how to, rationalize that. So I think you're going to find with these suppliers it's a real benefit. And also, it also sends a message to suppliers too, the fact that we're doing this, that we do have an expectation that they are going to contribute and be as locally based as they can as well. So, Mr. Warden, that's the update for today. I know I pushed a little over the 10-minute allowance, but happy to take any questions if there are any.
Good, thank you, James. Any questions or comments from council? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, and there's lots to do, that's for sure. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Kelly had something to add.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Warden, if I may, in addition to James's comments, it's been a lot of work from a lot of different players over the last month to get us to this point. I say last month, it's been a little bit longer than that, but the thrust of it has been during that time. And inevitably with this type of initiative, there are bumps along the way and terrific successes, and we tend to naturally as people focus on the bumps, but some of our successes that I think are quite important to recognize this morning is that we now are in a place where we have our economic development team fully ready to go, and under Caravan Miles' leadership, we have 2 individuals in the gallery that I would like to introduce to you, and that they're the 2 new economic development officers that the 2 positions that council had approved. And first, if I could just ask each individual to stand up. First is Vicky Lai. And many of you know Vicky because she has been the coordinator in tourism for a number of years since 2011 and was instrumental in the Explore the Bruce Passport program and developing that, and most recently was the cross-functional lead for the rental mileage and travel program. So Vicky is joining and has been promoted to the role of Economic Development Officer for sector. And if you'll join me, I'd like to congratulate Vicky. And sitting to Vicky's left is a new staff member that today I think is maybe her second day or third day with the county. And Manpreet, I hope I'm doing justice to my pronunciation of your surname. Manpreet Kaur Sangai, close? Good, okay. Manpreet has been in Estevan, Saskatchewan. She holds a graduate certificate in international business management and an MBA in economic development. And Manpreet's focus will be on business retention and making sure that we continue to keep the business that we do have healthy and sustainable, and to complement the work that Stelina will be doing as the business investment specialist for the energy side of the portfolio. So again, I want to welcome Manpreet.
And on behalf of County Council, I too would like to welcome you aboard. I was wondering why there's a Saskatchewan license plate in the parking lot there this morning, so that answers my question. So again, welcome. Okay, next up we have Al Leach from the Saugeen Valley Children's Safety Village. Welcome, Al.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And I want to thank James before he leaves just for the segue. This idea of the Children's Safety Village actually got fostered from Bruce Power a number of years ago and from some of the staff there. Also want to thank Kelly for suggesting that we make a presentation, bring an update before Council of what the Children's Safety Village is all about. What I'd like to do today is just very quickly show you some of the W's, the why, the what, the where, and how this Children's Safety Village has come on board. I can make sure this, do you have to point this at something in particular? Okay. Okay, first of all, the why. Injuries. Unintentional injuries remain the leading cause of death for children across Canada in the ages of 1 to 14. In fact, you might not know it, but injuries cause more death in children than all other causes put together across Canada. And that was part of the reason that we got underway. What some of the surveys, and one of the reports that was done that kind of prompted the Children's Safety Village to move forward was a report put together a number of years ago by Dr. Kelly Leach, no relationship, but Dr. Leach is the current MP from Simcoe County area. And she'd put a report together, and one of the things that she'd recommended and suggested was children's safety villages do make a difference in helping reduce these injuries. And the astounding figure is that 95% of the injuries are considered preventable if the children have been properly taught, as opposed to being just told about safety. And James mentioned about safety in his very first slide there. One of the things that we're not, well, you probably as councillors and for the county are aware of, is the economic burden of injuries is astronomical. It's in the billions of dollars across Canada. I'll just one quick example for you, because this will be part of the program at the Safety Village. Imagine a child riding a bike, not wearing a proper helmet, or maybe not wearing a helmet at all. They fall off and they have a head injury. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical aid for that one child over their life span. So you translate that into the number of injuries that we occur. And one of the things that came out of the Grey Bruce Owen Sound survey a couple of years ago was that unfortunately Grey Bruce has one of the worst records in the province of Ontario for the injuries to children and deaths to children because of preventable accidents and injuries. And I'll introduce Marilyn here in a second, and we've attended some of the meetings with Grey Bruce Owen Sound, and that was kind of a scary statistic for us. So where does Canada rank? Well, believe it or not, out of 28 peer countries, Canada ranks 22 in preventing a serious injury and death to our children. You would think with the system that we have in place, social assistance and the gifts we have across this country for looking after our children, that we'd be in the top 1, 2, or 3. But ranking 22 out of 28 is a little bit embarrassing in our ability to protect our children from serious injury. So if you could make a difference in the life of a child, would you? So that's the challenge I put before each and every one of you. So what is the Children's Safety Village? I'm going to give you what our mission statement is that we have developed, and our idea is to create an interactive educational facility to help eliminate help in the elimination of preventable childhood injuries and fatalities, the ones that we were just alluding to. Our vision is to make our local communities, which includes all of the communities here in Bruce County, as well as Grey and North Huron, Perth, and Wellington North as well, the #1 place for our children to grow up healthy and safety. There are 11 of these villages operating in Ontario currently, so this is not a new idea. This is not a competition. All of these villages provide the service to children in their communities, basically free of charge. The idea is to help reduce these injuries. There's a number of other communities across Ontario that are in the throes right now of building their own children's safety village. Orillia is one of those. I know Maryland has been dealing with, believe it or not, a corporation flew in from Vancouver earlier this year to meet with Maryland and Toronto and spend a number of days with her asking how we are putting our program together. We've also dealt with a company in Grand Prairie as well as in Saskatoon who are coming to the Children's Safety Village. And we aren't quite off the ground yet, but we're getting there. But they're asking for our advice on how to move forward with their project. So it's exciting to see that more of these are coming on board. Just to give you a bit of an overview, I'm quite sure most of you have either heard me speak about this or have a bit of information on what a Children's Safety Village is. This is the one that's in operation in Brantford, called the Brant Children's Safety Village. And if you look in sort of the top left corner, the green building, that is called the Town Hall, and that's basically our school building. The villages are made up of two basic components. One is what we call the Town Hall, and the other one is the miniature village itself. And so in the foreground there is a miniature village, streets that you can see, little buildings. The idea is, what I call it, is a kids-sized town. So if you want to take a look at Walkerton, Kincardine, Mount Forest, where I'm from, Hanover, Owen Sound, wherever, the idea is to create a small venue that the kids can relate to, that they feel comfortable in, that we want to put buildings in there that they recognize. So we create a small town, a small kid-sized town that they feel comfortable and safe in. And the whole perimeter of the area is fenced in as well. So like I said, there's 11 of these operating in Ontario. We have visited most, if not all of these. We are also part of they have a conference each year, and Saugeen Valley Children's Safety Village participates in that conference every year. Here's just some examples of what happens. This is a fire services classroom. These are just typical classrooms in one of the buildings and some of the furnishings that go with them. This is a police services classroom, and again, fairly basic, but it gives you an opportunity to put some infrastructure and equipment in there, and the idea is to show the kids firsthand the various safety devices and equipment that they're going to be involved with. Here's another example. Kitchen fire safety training is going to be a big component of what we do, and the fire department or fire officials will be talking about the various hazards. And I know I was down at the London Children's Safety Village at Fanshawe Conservation Area a couple of years ago, and I was astounded with the kids who were in the classroom with the firemen, and although the parents stayed after the kids left and went, "Oh my God, I have that octopus with 6 different things, the coffee pot, the toaster, the kettle, everything plugged into that one unit." They had an oven mitt resting on the stove. There are so many hazards in the kitchen that is quite bewildering, and the parents were the ones that were more concerned with what they haven't been teaching their children. We have some examples there on the right-hand side. Those are actually suitcases, and this equipment folds out, and those are countertop demonstrations. We have already acquired that equipment through some grants and some sponsorships, so we have that equipment on our site as well. One of the major components, and these are actual pictures of kids evacuating with firemen in the background, and the idea is not to just tell your child or your grandkid, if a fire erupts in the house, you hear the fire alarm, run to your bedroom, crawl out the window. I can guarantee you it won't happen. They'll be in the closet, they'll be under the bed, they'll be frightened to death. But you get them to actually practice this hands-on. We have now completed what we call our Sparky's apartment, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. We'll be filling a bedroom full of smoke. That room has been sponsored by Bruce County Fire Mutual Aid Association and Bruce County Fire Chiefs. We'll fill that room full of smoke. The kids will stop, drop, and roll. They'll get up in a dresser. They will climb out a window, just like you see here, and actually evacuate. So they'll actually practice that activity, as opposed to me telling them. I know a number of years ago when my boys were growing up, we lived actually in a barn. We converted a barn into our home. And I told my kids, oh, just run to the back of the house. You'll see the ladder, climb out your bedroom window, drop down to the ground. Thank goodness those couple little fires I had in the barn didn't materialize. And I never had to prove to the children that that could happen, because I know it wouldn't have. I never actually showed them. I never involved them. Part of the miniature village is the kids will go outside and will actually practice and experience safety activities in the village. They'll drive in little electric cars. We already have these sponsored by OPG. They'll have bicycles. They'll be doing pedestrian safety. They'll be doing farm safety, which is one of our major components in the safety village. And we have that sponsored by a couple of companies in the area are sponsoring our farm safety program. I just told Marilyn a minute ago, midnight last night after playing a little bit of baseball, yes, I can still play a little baseball, I opened up my internet and there was a note from Farm Credit Canada, just down the road here, $15,000 grant approved last night at midnight. So I was a little excited and didn't get much sleep there last night. So they are supporting our farm safety program. Here's some examples of some other miniature buildings and villages. This one's actually in Waterloo. This is beside, in the Sportsplex Drive, right beside the Waterloo Regional Police. If any of you have been down to this facility, they have an excellent program down there and a really attractive little village. This one's down at Peel in Brampton. Again, you see the miniature little buildings. The idea is to create that environment that replicates a small town. Street names, we have them all sponsored to date. So we put in sidewalks, street lights, pedestrian crossings, traffic lights is our intent. So where are we planning to build this? As a lot of you are aware, we're underway at Sulphur Spring Conservation Area. As I mentioned, the idea first fostered at Bruce Power with a couple of members of the off-the-job safety training team. Marilyn Rosner, back here, is actually the president of our corporation, and Marilyn was one of the original proponents, along with Barb Getz, so a lot of you will know him. Barb passed away 3 years ago. It was Barb and Marilyn that came forward with this idea. They were looking for some land, so they didn't have to buy some. So they approached the Conservation Authority with the help of Ann Eady at the time, and the board. The board approved the Children's Safety Village having access to some land on a long-term lease at the Sulphur Spring Conservation Area. And we looked at that as an ideal location with that little bit of a traffic circle you see there outlined in blue, covers all of Bruce County and Grey County, as well as I said, North Huron, Perth, and Wellington North. So it's a great catchment area, and we'll capture most of the children and grandchildren in this particular area. This is the building we have now renovated. This was the former admin building at the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. It's been sitting empty for a couple of years. The authority was in a bit of a dilemma as to what they were going to do with it. We approached them. Their board approved it. We've now completed renovations. We're now at the stage of starting to put some of our furnitures into place. We had an engineer lay it out, so we had a demolition drawing. This was our final drawing of how the building will look inside. We are extremely pleased with our contractor, with our engineer. We hired a project manager, and he managed the contract through for us. And we're quite pleased with the outcome, and it looks totally different than it did 6 months ago, trust me. We also have WSP, an engineering firm out of Hanover, has come on board, and they have now laid out this is our layout. If you look in the top left-hand corner, that's the admin building I just showed you. And then we have our community and police services classroom. And in between, we'll actually be developing the miniature village. They are currently have completed the drainage plan, and all the survey work is done. So we are in discussion with an excavating contractor who's going to come on board and start doing the excavation work shortly. Here's some of the other items in the miniature village. As I indicated, some downsized buildings to create that kid-sized town, operating traffic lights, road signs, pedestrian crossings, bus evacuation. We've met on site with the bus consortium. We've met on site with a bus line. We've met with pretty well all of the police agencies in our area to talk about the They're part of the safety training program. Maryland recently arranged a meeting with CAA. We're actually going to start some programming with CAA in September. They actually do the training. They train the trainer, they train the OPP on how to do the bus monitoring and evacuation, and they update their program every couple of years. So we've met with them on site, so they'll be coming on site. I put the little picture in the corner with Hydro Danger. That is actually on site. Hydro One is one of our sponsors, and we put that facility on site already because it came in one piece, and I thought if we had the little miniature village built, we were going to have trouble getting that thing on site. So we have that cornerstone already in place. This is our community and police services classroom. It's already functioning. We are responsible for it. We rent it out at the present time. I actually booted the authority into the basement, so they're renovating the basement there right now for their use. We've got the upstairs. And this is just a picture of the upstairs of the police services classroom. It is functional and in operation at present. So who are our target? Who are our clients? In our discussions, our initial discussions were with the boards of trustees of our local school boards and with the principals to get them on board. The project wasn't of any interest if they weren't interested in having the children attend. Although the curriculum is targeted based on the Ontario curriculum, the safety programs that we are planning to offer are those that are currently being offered by the police and fire attending the various schools right now and delivering their programs. But in our recent discussions over the last couple of months with all of the police agencies in the area, it's becoming more and more difficult for them to get to all of the various schools to deliver the programs. And some of the smaller police forces like West Grey sometimes have to rely on the OPP. Community service officers actually deliver some of the programs to get to all the schools. Having the Children's Safety Village with all of the equipment and all the facilities there, the bus loads of children can arrive at the village, the police officer, the fire department will be there to conduct the program. That figure of $10,000 children is not pulled out of the air. This is what we anticipate, the number of children that can come just out of the Blue Water area alone. Some of the other villages, one in Stouffville, the York Region Children's Safety Village is running 16,000 people a year through their program. Waterloo's running about 12,000, and so is the one in London. But we anticipate about 10,000 kids from kindergarten to grade 6. These are the impressionable years, and these are the years that we want to target. The information that's passed on to the children at this age will stay with them. One of the other things and that Maryland continues to stress with me, this is a community program. Some of the other ones are very targeted. They're very small areas like the one at Brant. They only deal with Brant County and town or city of Brantford. We're dealing with a lot of different communities. And so our facility is being designed to be able to handle not just our children, but we anticipate we have a number of meeting rooms on site. And through our discussion with the police and fire, there's other programs we want to get into. We have some challenged children who may not be able to handle the normal programming. Opportunity for them to come in evenings, weekends, or come in separately with their sponsors to go through the same safety training. One of the things that's come out is our seniors. And I know I'm there now. There's a lot of concern with seniors and their apartments and kitchen fires. Talking to some of the police chiefs, this has become a serious issue. Here's an opportunity for us to bring some seniors in with fire departments in the evenings and weekends, use our facility, everything is there, so that we can practice some safety and teach some safety instruction to some of our seniors as well, so it's not just the children. We have groups like what's that? So at a senior's moment right there. Okay, I just lost it there. But there's other groups, Crime Stoppers, who I'm trying to think of, are always looking for a home. We've had some discussion there. We have an opportunity to work with some other nonprofit charitable organizations to have them come in and use our facilities. That would benefit them. Service clubs, council wanted to have an off-site meeting for a change. We have the facilities there to handle it. So it's not just going to be the children. How are we accomplishing this? Like I'll stress it again, this is a community project. We're looking at strong community support. These are some of our major sponsors, by all means, not all of them. But you see, I think you'll recognize pretty well all of the players on board there. Subway was kind of a neat one. I've been dealing with Subway corporate. I've never met anybody. They're in Connecticut, now they're in Texas. So my engagement with them has always been by email or by phone, but they were on board with creating a small Subway building, which is, you know, something that everybody recognizes. Here's just some more of our community sponsors. One of our big players is our service organizations. Proud to say our Lions in District A9 are close to $90,000, if not just over $90,000 in donations to date. Major sponsor are Optimus, the Masonic Lodge, and some other community foundation. Grey Bruce is there, Terrarium Insurance, Fritzall Construction down the road. Here's some more of our sponsors. Grey Bruce Farmers Week have been very supportive of it. And as I already mentioned, Bruce County Mutual Aid and Bruce County Fire Chiefs just completed their $50,000 pledge to the Children's Safety Village. That money's in the bank, and that has now been used to complete Sparky's apartment. And Grey County is even on board. They have given us a donation. They're one of our sponsors. They will have a street name. So we're taking this idea that came from Barb and Marilyn, and we're trying to make a dream out of that idea that started with these ladies and tried to make it a reality. Bruce County can help make a difference. That's in each and every one of you in this room, because it involves all of your children. We go from Goderich to Arthur, Palmerston, over to Markdale, up the Bruce, Owen Sound. We have a fairly large catchment area. What we're looking at and what we're proposing to council, and we don't in the past have not looked for funding, but as we move forward here, there's an opportunity. We feel that the county, Bruce and Grey, and we've met and had some discussions with Grey County CAO as well. There's an opportunity for the county to help support this program, and what we're looking at is, if council would consider supporting some of the wages of a safety instructor on site. This will help us advance this program that much faster. So I leave that figure in front of you to consider. We're providing an opportunity for you to help make a difference in the lives of 10,000 children and grandchildren in the area, some of them being your kids, your grandkids. And as I stated earlier, preventing serious injury even to one child, saving the life of one child, is absolutely priceless. I thank you. Any questions at all from staff? Marilyn and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Al. Questions, Ann?
So what is your planned start date to get this up and running? I have to congratulate you on your long time efforts. It seems like quite a while ago that you had the idea came with, and
yes, I had hair back then.
and that you persevered through to make this dream start working. So I was just wondering if you have any start date in mind for the village opening.
Well, we're getting, as I indicated, looking at starting some programming this September with CAA and the police, and we hope to start the building the miniature village, this, if not August, starting in September. So we're looking at this coming school year, and that's why I put down 2017 of getting underway. We want to, put together a job spec and start looking for a safety instructor to be on site, someone to administer the various programming, and we have Marilyn's made arrangements already. If you want to talk about the software program, Marilyn.
And it's that thing where, a couple of things I just wanted to mention as well. When you were looking at that picture, our map, it's all children. That map that we have, the circle, was just for busing. They were looking at about an hour and 15 minutes, but it's all of Bruce County and surrounding areas. So any schools or the Mennonite community, it's open to all children. And we've already had requests from Lions Head and Tobermory, and they'll be coming for full days. But they actually want to know now what's available to start signing up. For the software program, what we're looking at is borrowing it from the Brant Children's Safety Village and just customizing it for us, so that teachers will be able to go onto our website, they'll be able to look at the different programs, what days, they'll actually just pick the days they want to go, that it'll be confirmed to them, it'll go to the bus consortium to make arrangements for the bus, it'll go to the local police, and it'll go to our administrator, and then a reminder will go out ahead of time. So even with that software, we're able to accumulate all the statistics of how many children in Grey and Bruce County that will get these programs. And even to the police, the idea from the police side of things is the police and fire and EMS, they wanted to be involved. But the problem in smaller communities is when their schools come, something may come up in the community that they cannot attend that day. And that's why we're looking at the dedicated instructor. We want the police and fire and EMS in that local area to be able to attend, but if they can't attend, we want a dedicated instructor that program will go on for the day, the schools will still attend, and that local community will still get that check mark for all the children in the community learning those programs. And our goal is that every child in Grey and Bruce County gets these programs for internet safety, for farm safety, for bike safety, for road safety. And just talking really quickly, I just want to add one other thing. When talking about the statistics, that's the thing I'm always on about when they're saying about Canada being 22 in that category. That report actually said we should have been number 1 with our healthcare and social programs, but there's no reason why we're not. We just don't take that step that we need to take to make a difference in our children. And examples are the fact that we wonder why our youth are so many problems with driving with young children, like young adults. And we don't teach our children any road safety until they're 16 years old, and we give them a driver's license and put them behind the wheel of a car. At the Children's Safety Village, they're going to start learning that in kindergarten. In kindergarten, they're going to get into battery-operated Jeeps with seat belts. They're going to learn road safety, and you'll see on our diagram, we even have a roundabout that we're planning for it as well, because roundabouts are coming to this area. Internet safety, same thing. There's so many things out there that we're not aware of that adults, we'll probably have an adult program for internet safety as well to start to make people aware of what's out there and what to watch for with their children. And I could go on forever. So I also wanted to invite every one of you, or friends or family or anybody else you know, if you'd like to get the sneak peek at the village, to just let Al or myself know that we'd love to have people out there and organizations, because it is a community project. It's not Al and I telling you what's going on. We want you and the people that know and that people that have an interest to get out there and have a look and give us ideas and suggestions and make sure we're all on the right track. So there you go.
Just another thing I wanted to add, if I may, Mr. Warden. We are a registered Canadian charity. We are run totally by volunteers. We have no paid staff at this stage. It's all volunteer work. So just to sort of formalize an answer, Ms. Edie, we're looking at probably January. We can start running the fire services training programs now, because that building is ready once we start putting some tables and chairs in it. So that one we can probably start as early as this fall. But to run the entire program, the miniature village stuff, we're probably looking sometime this school year to be underway.
I look forward to visiting.
Anytime. I do also, and I'm going to pass this around, not only do we do sort of formal fundraising with all of these different sponsors, but we get our hands dirty. We have a golf tournament coming up. Marilyn's going to give you a sheet of paper if you haven't done so. We're extending an invitation to each and every one of you to come out to Black Horse in September for a round of fun-filled golf and dinner. And the money, this will be our second annual. We were there last year. We also run one up at Saugeen Golf Course. Marilyn looked after that back in June. So we're going to hand some sheets around to you. We do extend an invitation to you. Come on out and join us. It's a fundraiser for us, and it helps us generate a little bit more money, and just shows that we aren't just knocking on doors. We do get out there to try to actively raise some funds in a different way. Are there any more questions? Happy to answer anything.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation today, and I can see that you folks are very passionate on what you're trying to deliver for the children of not only Bruce County, but the surrounding counties. So obviously, this $30,000 ask will be a budgetary
Yes.
item, so we will definitely be looking at this in the upcoming months. So again, thank you very much.
I thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, Betty Ann, County Officer reports?
I don't believe there are any scheduled.
None today. Inquiries or announcements this morning? Reports?
All the reports have been circulated.
Okay. Minutes?
Have a motion for the minutes, moved by Mr. Ingles, seconded by Mr. Buckle, that the minutes of the following committees be approved. July 7th, 2016, Corporate Services Committee, Homes Committee, Human Resources Committee, Museum Committee, Social Services and Housing Committee, Paramedic Services Committee. July 14th, 2016, Executive Committee, Highways Committee, Human Resources Committee, Planning and Development Committee.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from the July 7th or July 14th minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Are there any further motions?
No further motions.
Unfinished business? Seeing none. Bylaws, Betty Ann.
Moved by Mr. McKeever, seconded by Mr. Eagleson, that the following bylaws be adopted. 2016-60, a bylaw to authorize the execution of a collaborative research agreement between McMaster University and the Corporation of the County of Bruce for the provision of a community paramedicine initiative for older adults living in subsidized housing. 2016-61, a bylaw to authorize the execution of the Service Manager Administration Agreement between Her Majesty the Queen of Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Housing and the Corporation of the County of Bruce for the 2016 Social Infrastructure Fund. 2016-62, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Bruce at its meeting held the 4th day of August 2016.
Are there any further discussions on any of those bylaws? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that's carried. Thank you.
Moved by Ms. Jackson, seconded by Mr. Eagleson, that we do now adjourn to meet again Thursday, September 8th, 2016 at 9:30 a.m.
All those in favor, that's carried. Thank you.